What if I told you that the people who truly control money don't actually own any of it? They don't mine gold, they don't print cash, they don't even hold the assets they control. Yet when they move a finger, markets crash, currencies fall, and nations kneel. This isn't the story of kings or presidents. It's the story of a hidden empire, an invisible architecture of power that governs the modern world, not through force, but through debt. And the strangest part, you've been living inside its walls your entire life and without ever noticing. Welcome to the hidden empire that controls money without owning a single coin. To understand how this empire came to rule, we need to go back to a time when money meant something tangible. Gold, silver, and labor once formed the foundation of economies. A coin had intrinsic value. It was heavy, solid, finite. But around the 17th century, a quiet revolution began in Europe, one that would forever separate money from reality. In 1694, the Bank of England was established, not just as a bank, but as the first central bank. Its purpose? To lend money to the government in exchange for interest, money that didn't physically exist. Instead of printing gold-backed notes, the bank issued promises that circulated as currency. For the first time in history, wealth could be created, not by producing goods, but by creating debt. This was the moment when money became an idea, and whoever controlled the idea controlled the world. In the centuries that followed, a handful of families and institutions mastered this new form of financial alchemy. By the 19th century, the Rothschild family, operating across London, Paris, Vienna, and Frankfurt, had effectively become the world's first international banking network. Their genius wasn't in hoarding gold, but in controlling credit. They financed wars, empires, and industrial revolutions, while nations mortgaged their futures for survival. And soon others followed, the Rockefellers in oil, the Morgans in American finance, the Warburgs and Lazards across Europe. These weren't just businessmen. They were architects of a new world order built on leverage, speculation, and dependency. The system was simple and devastatingly effective. Create debt. Collect interest, control nations through repayment. By the early 1900s, this network didn't just serve the world's governments. It owned them, quietly and legally through bonds, credit, and loans. The true empire wasn't made of land or armies. It was built from contracts. But every empire meets its test. In 1929, the world faced the Great Depression, a collapse triggered not by natural disaster or war, but by confidence evaporating from paper promises. Banks failed, currencies collapsed, and millions lost everything, except the institutions that created the chaos. The Federal Reserve, America's central bank established in 1913, emerged as the lender of last resort. It printed more money, issued more loans, and in doing so, tightened its grip on the global economy. When World War II erupted, governments turned once again to central banks to fund the fight. Trillions in new debt was created. But there was a problem. The world's currencies were still tied to gold. You couldn't print more gold to match the debt. So in 1944, at the Bretton Woods Conference, the global elite met to rewrite the rules. They created the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, establishing the US dollar, not gold, as the backbone of the global economy. From that point on, money no longer represented value. It was value simply because the system said so. The hidden empire had gone global. In August 1971, President Richard Nixon made an announcement that would forever change the financial world. He declared that the United States would no longer convert dollars to gold. With that single act, the last link between money and reality was severed. From that moment, money became faith. Faith in the system, faith in the government, faith in the illusion. The empire of credit was now unstoppable. Banks could create loans from nothing. Governments could print endlessly. And the average citizen, you and I, became the collateral. Because every dollar in circulation is born as debt. Someone owes it, someone pays interest on it, and the system demands that debt grows forever. That's why inflation isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's how the hidden empire feeds. Once you understand the mechanism, the pattern becomes painfully clear. 1987, Black Monday, 1997, Asian financial crisis, 2000, dot-com collapse. 2008, global financial meltdown, 2020, pandemic printing spree. Every crisis resets the board, but the players stay the same. Each collapse transfers wealth upward. from the public to the institutions that created the problem in the first place. When economies crash, central banks intervene, buying assets, lowering rates, and injecting liquidity. Translation: they create more money out of nothing, increasing the debt load and ensuring the empire's survival. And while ordinary people lose homes, savings, and job, the empire consolidates control. In 2020 alone, during the pandemic, the world's central banks printed over $9 trillion, more money than in any previous decade combined. Global debt surpassed $300 trillion by 2024, more than 3 times the world's GDP. So ask yourself, if every country, business, and citizen is in debt, who's the creditor? Today, the empire doesn't wear crowns or sit in marble halls. It lives in algorithms, digital ledgers, and high-frequency trading systems. Central banks, hedge funds, and supranational institutions like the IMF or BIS no longer need to own wealth. They define it. A single interest rate decision in Washington or Zurich can move trillions across borders in seconds. Meanwhile, most of the world's money doesn't even exist physically. Over 92% of it is digital. Numbers on screens circulating through networks nobody fully understands. You can't touch it, you can't see it, but your entire life depends on it. The hidden empire doesn't need to own coins because it owns the system that values them. Over the years, reformers, economists, and even revolutionaries have tried to break free. Gold standards, regulations, cryptocurrencies, each promised liberation, each failed in its own way. Why? Because every attempt to replace the system still operates within the system's logic: debt, speculation, and profit. Even Bitcoin, hailed as the people's money, now trades on Wall Street, valued in the same dollars it sought to overthrow. You can't beat the empire by playing its game. The game is the empire. History doesn't repeat exactly, but it rhymes. Every few decades, debt outgrows the system meant to contain it. Confidence falters, crises erupt. Then comes the reset. We saw it in the 1930s, in the 1970s, in 2008, and the next one is already brewing. Look at the signs. Governments borrowing record amounts to fund spending. Central banks trapped between inflation and collapse. Private wealth concentrated in fewer hands than ever. Digital currencies being prepared to replace cash. Giving institutions total control over when, where, and how you spend. The empire isn't falling, it's evolving. So what can we learn from this hidden empire that controls money without owning a single coin? First, money is not wealth. Wealth is control over systems, narratives, and belief. The empire's power comes not from possession, but from defining value itself. Second, debt is the weapon of modern empires. Wars no longer need soldiers, they need signatures. By indebting nations, corporations, and individuals, control becomes invisible and permanent. Third, the illusion survives because we believe in it. The system only functions as long as people trust the numbers on the screen. The moment that faith collapses, the empire's foundation vanishes. We are entering an age where control over money means control over freedom itself. Digital currencies, programmable banking, and AI-driven monetary policy promise convenience, but also total surveillance. If money no longer belongs to people but to code written by the few, then the empire has achieved its final form. The question isn't whether this system will break, it's whether we'll recognize it when it does. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay aware, and remember, the empire only wins if you stop asking how it works.